too rich, we think we don't need God anymore. And if we're too poor, we might try to get those same things that we need, but in ways that are dishonorable. And these kind of money problems cause us to be distracted from who is ready to provide for us. But let's get to the other phrase that Agur names, the other part of his prayer. He says, "Give me neither poverty nor riches." Now, this is an interesting line. I feel like when I read this, I want to say, "Give me neither poverty nor riches, said no one ever." But Agur did say it. Like, why in the world would he say, "Give me neither poverty nor riches"? I mean, I get why he'd say, "Give me not poverty," but why not riches? Why would you pray against riches, right? Well, unlike the first phrase in his prayer, Agur actually goes into a little bit of detail explaining what he means. He is identifying this second piece of what makes up the scrambler, and it is money problems. Agur writes this in verse 8, "Give me neither poverty nor riches, but give me only my daily bread. Otherwise I may have too much and disown you and say, 'Who is the Lord?' Or I may become poor and steal and so dishonor the name of my God." He's saying, if I become too rich, I might begin to think that I don't need God anymore, that I have everything I need. I don't need to depend on God anymore. I can rely on myself. I can provide for myself. But Agur's wisdom is telling him that when we feel secure in our belongings, in our money, that we stop finding security in God. So he wants to avoid this temptation. So he says, "Don't make me too rich." And on the flip, he writes, "Give me neither poverty, or I might become dishonorable. I might try to solve my own problem in a way that's dishonorable, because I know if I don't have enough, I'm going to try to get enough, and I might do that in a way that is against you, God, and dishonor you." And so what I notice about these two different extremes, whether it's too rich or too poor, that they both lead to relying on ourselves instead of relying on God. In the case of too rich, we think we don't need God anymore because we can get whatever we want. And if we're too poor, we might try to get those same things that we need, but in ways that are dishonorable. And these kind of money problems contribute to our scrambler, because they cause us to be distracted from who is ready to provide for us. You know, money issues, they take our focus off of the one who wants to be our source of security. So what Agur's really asking for here is that God would put him in a place to have only what he needs, so that he will be more likely to rely on God. We stop reacting to the scrambler that we're on when we lean into the contentedness that comes when we have only what we need, not more and not less. It's actually a pretty brave prayer to pray. God, don't give me more than I need. Because our human response is like, but what I need is more. But in reality, like, real security, true security that does not come and go, that is consistent, it comes as we depend on God for what we need when we need it. That is what it means when he says, "Give me only my daily bread." Because when you believe that God will give you what you need, you can rest easy. The ride slows down. At the end of World War II, the Allies began to notice that there were children who were homeless, who were parentless. And so they began to kind of gather them together so that they could provide for them and in these camps that they had. And so they would feed them and give them clothes, and they would make sure they're clean and that they have a bed to sleep in at night that was dry and warm. But the people who ran these camps were finding that no matter what they did, even though they provided everything these kids need, that these kids still couldn't sleep at night. They were restless, they were crying, they were up at night, and of course, they were traumatized. And so as they began to think, how can we fix this? They had a psychologist suggest something that was a little unusual. They said, before these kids go to bed at night, give them each a piece of bread to hold, not to eat, just to hold in the night. And if they're hungry and they want more food, give them more food. But this piece of bread was only for them to hold. And so all the kids went to bed that night holding a piece of bread, and an amazing thing happened. All the children slept just fine, knowing beyond a shadow of a doubt that they would have something to eat tomorrow. It allowed them to relax. And that is exactly what happens with us when we believe that God will give us our daily bread. There is this security that comes in us, that no matter what money we have, what resources we have, we can rely on God to provide. I want you to think about your life. What is something that you feel like you need right now? And for some of you that feel that you have too little, that need, as you think about it, it might cause worry. And it might cause you to think about, how am I going to be able to provide this? For those of you that have excess, you might not even think about it because you think it's fine. I'm just going to go buy it. It's not a problem. But what would it be, regardless of where you are, to instead ask God for that thing? What if instead you asked him to provide it? Because who knows? Chances are he might provide that in a way that is so much better than what it would have been if you had provided it yourself.